You've heard of the guillotine, you've heard of the rack, but you've probably never heard of the brazen bull. At first glance, it looked like a grand bronze statue, majestic, lifelike, even artistic. But it wasn't built for worship or decoration. Inside, it was hollow and horrifying. Victims were sealed inside as flames were lit beneath. What happened next wasn't just punishment. It was designed to be a spectacle. The bull's interior was engineered to transform human suffering into sound. Cries of pain echoed through a network of pipes, emerging as animalistic roars. For those watching, it became a form of twisted entertainment, one where agony was disguised as theatrics. Its inventor proudly claimed it was a more civilized approach to justice, but when he presented it to the king, the ruler gave it a live demonstration, with the inventor himself inside. This isn't legend, it's historical fact, and long after the fire died out, one chilling question remains. Who were the real monsters, those trapped within, or those who watched without flinching? Meet Phalaris of Akragas, a 6th century BCE ruler whose legacy is wrapped in one of antiquity's most chilling inventions, a so-called punishment device that was as theatrical as it was terrifying. The brazen bull wasn't merely about enforcing justice. It was, disturbingly, a form of psychological spectacle designed to both intimidate and captivate. Sometime around 560 BCE, an ambitious craftsman named Perilos of Athens approached the tyrant Phalaris with what he described as a revolutionary tool of enforcement. His creation? A life-sized, hollow bronze bull, gleaming with polish and precision. But the real twist was inside. This bronze structure had been engineered with intricate chambers and carefully placed pipes. According to Perilos, when someone was placed inside and subjected to punishment by heat, their cries would be acoustically transformed, emerging from the bull's nostrils as eerie, animal-like sounds. In his words, it would produce a haunting bovine chorus. Disturbing, yes, but supposedly artful. Phalaris listened with curiosity. He examined the craftsmanship, admired the clever design, and then asked Perilos a seemingly innocent question. Could he demonstrate how a person would be positioned inside? Proud and confident, Perilos climbed in. Once inside, the door was shut, and to Perilos' shock, a fire was lit beneath the bronze frame, the sound that echoed from the bull's nostrils, precisely what the inventor had described, a deeply unsettling imitation of a bull's cry. The device, as far as its mechanics were concerned, worked flawlessly. But Phalaris, true to the tales of ancient ruthlessness, didn't let the inventor enjoy the success for long. Though Perilos was reportedly removed before the punishment could reach a fatal end, he was later taken to a nearby cliff and, according to most accounts, pushed off. This inaugural demonstration of the bronze bull set the tone for its unsettling legacy. Phalaris made one thing abundantly clear. In his domain, not even the inventor of a punishment device was exempt from its use. It was a chilling reminder that in Akragas, status offered no protection. Everyone was subject to the whims of the tyrant's theatrical justice. But the real innovation? It wasn't just the punishment itself. It was the presentation. Phalaris didn't just enforce punishment. He orchestrated it. Like a stage director, he had very specific expectations for how his bronze masterpiece should sound. The brazen bull's acoustic design was shockingly advanced. Its interior wasn't built for echoes. It was tuned like an instrument, crafted to turn human cries into an eerie animal-like symphony. Each chamber manipulated sound, bending distress into something that bellowed like a beast. According to legend, the bull didn't just make noise, it sang. Witnesses described the effect as something between a beastly growl and a melancholic harmony. Incredibly, the bull's inner tubing and resonators allowed for variations in pitch and timbre, transforming the natural sounds of human reaction into an otherworldly chorus. Strange, distorted, and unforgettable. Craftsmen of the time had to carefully calculate how heat would affect the bronze's acoustic properties. As the temperature rose, so did the complexity of the sound. They incorporated baffles, chambers, and pipes, effectively creating a primitive soundboard that filtered and shaped every note. It was less a simple enforcement tool and more a twisted musical sculpture, an instrument forged not just in fire, but in fear. Phalaris wasn't just a ruler, he fancied himself the conductor of a most unnerving orchestra. According to ancient accounts, during these grim displays, he would gesture and perform theatrically, as if directing a symphony. And disturbingly, his choices weren't random. Victims were reportedly selected based in part on their vocal characteristics, almost like a twisted talent scout searching for the perfect pitch. Yes, even in something as grim as this, sound quality mattered. The bull had what you might call sweet spots, specific areas where the acoustics were at their best. If someone was positioned too far forward or back, the entire effect could be diminished. Guards were instructed to arrange the individual precisely for optimal acoustic output. Because in Phalaris's strange vision of justice, it wasn't just about the punishment. It was about the presentation being on key. This extreme focus on sound design hints at something deeply unsettling. It wasn't enough to enforce power. It had to be refined, even artistic. The artisans and metalworkers who built this device weren't just following instructions. They were applying advanced knowledge of resonance, airflow, and sound manipulation. Their creative talents, usually reserved for temples or instruments, were channeled into something far more unnerving, a performance tool in the shape of a bull. It stood at the crossroad of technical brilliance and chilling intent, a masterpiece of engineering with a purpose that challenges the very definition of creativity. Each acoustic chamber, each carefully curved pipe, contributed to a spectacle that was as terrifying as it was unique. Naturally, such a musical marvel didn't remain a local secret for long. Stories of the singing bull of Sicily spread like wildfire, faster than market gossip or war news. Ancient writers were hooked by its mix of drama, innovation, and fear. In a world without social media, it became one of the most viral tales of its time. Pindar wrote haunting verses. Diodorus Siculus described it with breathless urgency. Even Aristotle weighed in, less impressed, more concerned. Society had become a little too obsessed with creative punishment. The bull had better PR than most gods. And that's exactly how Phalaris wanted it. His reputation stretched across the Mediterranean. Some leaders reportedly surrendered early just to avoid the risk of hearing that ominous brass bellow firsthand. The bull wasn't just a device, it became a brand, his signature move, the ancient version of a catchphrase, just with more fire and fear. Soon, other rulers caught on. In a wave of ancient FOMO, tyrants across the region started commissioning their own acoustic punishment devices. Basic authority wasn't enough anymore. You needed a showpiece. The Brazen Bull became the iPhone of punishment tech. Sleek, terrifying, and suddenly, everyone wanted one. Meanwhile, Akragas went from known for olive oil to must-visit spectacle city. The bull turned it into a macabre tourist hotspot, overshadowing temples, markets, even sports. Local guides probably got tired of hearing, yeah, but when's the next performance? The Brazen Bull wasn't a solo act. It had a full support crew. You needed fire managers for precise heat, acoustic consultants for the perfect tone, and guards to handle the crowds of what we'd now call disaster tourists. It basically had its own payroll department. Historical clues suggest Phalaris diverted public funds to keep it running. Roads crumbled, buildings rotted, defenses weakened, but the bull gleamed like new. It was the ancient version of building a luxury stadium while the city's water failed, except the stadium hosted punishments. The cost was so high, other rulers went for budget bulls. The problem? They didn't sound right. Some reportedly squeaked instead of bellowed, hardly the chilling impact intended. For Phalaris, that wasn't good enough. If you're going to run a sound-powered punishment device, it better moo with authority. To Phalaris, every drachma was worth it, not just for the spectacle, but for the reputation it built. Enemies surrendered, not out of military fear, but to avoid the bull. It was ancient history's most terrifying PR campaign. But fear brought more than submission. It brought tourists. Akragas became the ancient world's first dark tourism hotspot. Wealthy elites from Rome and Athens didn't come for temples. They came for the show. Executions became events. VIPs paid for shaded seats. Vendors sold snacks. And yes, there was merch. Bronze bull miniatures, bull-themed ceramics, even scroll holders for the literary types. The tourism boom reshaped the city. Inns popped up, guides offered execution tours, food stalls sold bull-shaped pastries, probably more fun than flavorful, and artists turned it all into mosaics and pottery. Even early travel writers got in on it. 5 stars for acoustics, crowd energy, a bit flat this season. Crowds grew so large that officials had to enforce crowd control, reserved seating, extra guards, and scheduled executions timed with major festivals. Because nothing says cultural celebration like synchronized screaming. And it wasn't just the bull that needed care. It was the entire staff ecosystem behind it. This high-maintenance bronze marvel needed fire operators, sound techs, and crowd control staff. It was so complex it basically needed its own HR department. Some sources say Phalaris diverted city funds just to keep it running. While roads crumbled and defenses weakened, the bull stayed performance-ready. It was like building a luxury stadium, but for punishment, not sports. The cost? Noticeable. Other rulers wanted in, but settled for budget bulls. Some didn't even bellow properly, because apparently sound quality mattered. If your bull couldn't scream convincingly, why even bother? For Phalaris, it wasn't about spectacle, it was about fear. The bull became a symbol of control, so powerful that some cities reportedly surrendered just to avoid it. It was ancient history's most terrifying marketing campaign. And with that fear came a new crowd. Tourists. Akragas quickly became the ancient world's first dark tourism hotspot. Wealthy travelers from Rome and Athens didn't just come for temples or wine, they came to see the bull. Executions became high-demand events. VIPs paid for shaded seats and refreshments. Merchants sold bull-themed souvenirs. Yes, even elite homes proudly displayed punishment memorabilia. The city's economy boomed. Hotels popped up. Guides led execution tours. Vendors sold bull-shaped pastries. And artisans crafted limited edition artworks. Even early travel writers reviewed the shows. Great acoustics, best viewing spot, left of center, second tier. Eventually, the crowds got so big that officials stepped in. They added designated seating, boosted security, and even scheduled executions to align with major festivals for peak attendance. Because nothing says celebration like synchronized screaming. What truly set Akragas apart from all the other cities with grim reputations wasn't just the spectacle, it was the soundtrack. Other places may have offered the standard fare, beheadings, public floggings, or conventional crucifixions. But only Akragas could promise an orchestral experience, a punishment device that literally turned a person's final moments into something resembling a concert. Visitors debated the sound quality of different events. They critiqued the pitches, tones, and harmonics produced by the condemned, like ancient opera reviewers comparing vocalists. But then, things got even stranger. The bull's notoriety skyrocketed when religious figures entered the story. Christian martyrs like Saints Eustace and Antipas were reportedly subjected to it, turning their deaths into grim but powerful spiritual performances. Martyrdom drew huge crowds. Some believed the bull's twisted acoustics created haunting echoes of sacred hymns, a surreal, warped parody of religious music. One writer even called it a dissonant chorus. Executions on Christian holidays began to resemble theater. Musicians were tasked with tuning the bulls, treating them like molten wind instruments. It became a disturbing blend of faith and spectacle. Even more unsettling, some devout individuals reportedly embraced it, requesting the bull as a final act of divine resonance. Rome took notice. Soon, bronze bulls were mass-produced, from basic versions to deluxe models with enhanced acoustics and better metallurgy. It didn't always work. One governor demanded a refund, complaining his bull sounded more like a distressed goose than a mighty ox. And so, punishment became performance. Bureaucracy met showmanship, and cruelty got a marketing team. And yes, even punishment needed tech support. Surviving manuals from the era include shockingly detailed blueprints, specs for metal thickness, resonance ratios, and even maintenance schedules. One scroll had a troubleshooting guide for acoustic issues, as if tuning a lyre, not a bronze punishment device. If the resonance is too shrill, check for soot buildup in the nasal chamber. In the end, the Brazen Bull wasn't just a device. It became a chilling fusion of power, performance, and precision, a symbol of how engineering and cruelty, when combined, can echo through history in the most unsettling ways. As the Brazen Bull gained popularity across the Roman Empire, even the Imperial Procurement Office got involved, standardizing models with almost corporate precision. There were economy versions, offering basic acoustic output, and deluxe models crafted with premium bronze, upgraded resonance systems, and even customizable sound features. Yes, you could order your enforcement tool with luxury tier add-ons. Because even in the world of punishment, there was a market for upgrades. Provincial governors behaved like fussy shoppers at a trade fair. They haggled over prices, demanded warranties, and, when disappointed, filed complaints. One surviving record critiques a bull's substandard bellowing and requests either repairs or a refund. A true customer service moment, Roman style. As bureaucracy ballooned, the empire even hired quality inspectors. Their job? Test each device for proper heat distribution and acoustic accuracy before giving it the imperial seal of approval. That's right. Punishment device quality control was once an actual career. But with growing demand came the inevitable corner cutting. Some manufacturers used lower-grade alloys or flawed chamber designs, leading to disappointing results. This prompted early versions of consumer protection laws, specifically tailored to execution equipment. Officials could now seek legal recourse if their bull failed to meet acoustic standards. Eventually, bulls were rated on a 5-star system. Governors swapped notes like ancient Yelp reviewers. Excellent echo, minor overheating issue, would recommend. These reviews didn't just influence reputation, they actually helped shape formalized punishment standards that echoed well into medieval Europe. And yes, the bull made a comeback. By the 12th century, medieval executioners revived the brazen bull concept. It started, as these things often do, when someone stumbled upon old Roman engineering scrolls and thought, we could totally make this better. Enter the Gothic craftsmen. These artisans, better known for cathedrals and elaborate altars, brought their signature flair to the bronze bull. They added ornate flourishes, detailed carvings, and new performance enhancements. It was artistry applied to an age-old fear, with the same level of care they gave to sacred architecture. The result? A chilling fusion of medieval spectacle and ancient engineering. Proof that across centuries, the drive to innovate doesn't always aim toward compassion. By the early 1500s, the brazen bull had reached its medieval high point, equal parts brutal and bizarrely artistic. Take the Nuremberg Bull of 1515, a bronze behemoth engraved with religious scenes on the outside and fitted with interior spikes inside. chronicles praised its heavenly acoustics, which says a lot about medieval priorities. Craftsmen didn't treat these bulls as punishment tools. They treated them as masterpieces. They signed their work, competed for commissions, and bragged about upgrades. One French artisan even claimed a patented resonance chamber for enhanced acoustics. And these weren't just for show. Engineers introduced fuel-saving designs, temperature control systems, and mechanized loading mechanisms. Surviving schematics show the same technical precision you'd find in cathedral plans, just aimed at optimizing the wrong kind of performance. Cities began treating their bulls like status symbols. Local governments didn't just use the bull, they showed it off. Towns competed for the most ornate and efficient model, polishing them to a mirror shine for festivals, while officials proudly highlighted advanced features, like medieval car salesmen with something far more disturbing on the lot. But the obsession ran deeper. In classic medieval fashion, authorities added layers of protocol, executioner certifications, inspection logs, strict maintenance schedules, and, yes, mountains of paperwork. Apparently, the only thing worse than facing the bull was filing the forms incorrectly. The most unsettling part? These devices were treated like public utilities. Municipal records listed bull upkeep right alongside bridge repairs and street sweeping. Local guilds sponsored bulls the way they funded chapels, complete with plaques and renovation budgets. The brazen bull became part of the infrastructure, proof that a society can weave punishment into daily life with disturbing ease. And yet, despite all the manuals and blueprints, there's one glaring problem. We've never actually found one. Despite 2,000 years of vivid accounts across 3 continents, archaeologists have found 0 authentic brazen bulls. Not one. These massive bronze machines, supposedly used for centuries, have all vanished. You'd expect at least a trace. But nope, nothing confirmed. Some museums claim to display original bulls. But here's the twist. Most are 19th century replicas, made by Victorian showmen who realized there was money in morbid collectibles. Historical accuracy? Optional. It was basically the dark tourism version of selling splinters from the true cross. This lack of evidence has led some historians to ask a bold question. What if the brazen bull was never real? Not as an object, but as a psychological weapon. Why build something expensive and complex when a terrifying rumor could do the trick? Ancient rulers knew that fear alone could force surrender. The bull, in this theory, wasn't a machine. It was mythical deterrence, a nightmare with no blueprint, but real consequences. Terrifying, unforgettable, and possibly imaginary, which honestly may make it the most effective punishment device of all time. Now, to be fair, there are practical reasons for this puzzling archaeological gap. Bronze, in the ancient and medieval world, was incredibly valuable. When regimes fell, their luxury artifacts, no matter how infamous, were often recycled into something more useful. That massive bull-shaped device probably melted down into weapons, statues, or even church bells within a generation. By the time its original purpose was forgotten, its material had already moved on. Even the medieval bulls, documented in official records with astonishing detail, likely ended up as cannon shot, liturgical instruments, or fortification materials, long before anyone thought to preserve them as historical artifacts. Archaeologists in Akragas, the bull's supposed birthplace, have found intriguing clues: scorched foundations, bronze working remnants, and mysterious layouts that suggest something was there. But no actual bulls. It's like uncovering a crime scene, but never finding the weapon. And yet, the paperwork remains. From ancient scrolls detailing exact measurements and acoustic specs, to Roman operation manuals, to medieval blueprints complete with fuel efficiency charts and resonance ratios. It's all documented. Which leads to one of 2 conclusions. Either this is the most over-documented myth in history, or we're simply missing the bigger picture. Some scholars believe the bulls were intentionally destroyed, erased from existence as societies sought to bury their darker pasts. Others think they're misfiled in museum archives, collecting dust under the wrong label or resting beneath layers of modern development. Because history, after all, hides in plain sight. But this absence, this lack of physical proof, raises deeper, more unsettling questions. How much of the Brazen Bull story is real? And how much is orchestrated intimidation, tyrants inflating their cruelty to maintain power through fear? One thing is certain, the myth endures. Its horrifying specificity, its blend of theater and fear, has kept it alive in public memory far longer than any bronze casting could. In a way, the Brazen Bull tells us more about ourselves than about history. It reflects our enduring fascination with power, spectacle, and the unsettling line between justice and performance. And yet, while we debate its authenticity, there's one part we haven't fully explored: the bureaucracy behind it all. Because even if the bull was real, or even just rumored to be real, someone had to operate, manage, and audit it. And that part might be the most bizarre chapter of all. According to Roman records, entire departments were created to handle execution logistics. There were training manuals, performance reviews, and what we'd now call project management protocols. Because even punishment, apparently, required solid ops planning. The so-called Bull Crew wasn't just a handful of workers with torches. It was a coordinated team of specialists. You had fire tenders responsible for maintaining the exact temperatures needed for acoustic consistency. Sound technicians adjusted resonance chambers to ensure the desired effect. Loading operators handled the careful and rather morbid task of securing individuals inside without damaging the delicate internal mechanics. And then there were the crowd managers, who had to make sure spectators had clear views and orderly seating. And yes, there were official training programs. Administrative texts from the period describe certification requirements for bull operators. Trainees had to demonstrate skills in temperature control, sound calibration, and even emergency procedures. This was treated with the same seriousness as managing siege engines or aqueducts. The bureaucratic layers were astounding. Every event required permits, equipment inspections, and compliance checks. Reports were filed on fuel usage, sound performance, and public response. Some provinces even established quality control teams specifically for punishment device operations, complete with supervisors, evaluations, and formal approval stamps. Coordinating a bull execution was less like justice and more like stage production. Departments had to sync, fuel deliveries secured, and backup plans in place. There were maintenance logs, equipment inventories, and incident reports for anything off script. In classic Roman fashion, they even created workplace safety protocols, training in lifting techniques, heat exposure limits, and protective gear. Meetings were held to refine procedures. Yes, meetings about meetings for executions. It wasn't just punishment, it was a bureaucratic performance, complete with admin offices, filing systems, and probably coffee breaks. Archaeological finds suggest some sites had entire buildings just for paperwork. Scheduling was chaos. Events had to align with festivals, markets, and visiting dignitaries. One letter even blames a delay on missing forms, not submitted in triplicate. With all this, bull executions were rare, lions were easier, no fire control, no sound checks, no compliance reports, and performance mattered. Teams were graded on efficiency and crowd reaction. In some regions, promotions were tied to how smoothly the punishment ran. In the end, it reveals something chilling. Give humanity any horror, and we'll build an entire department to run it well. We now build escape rooms for fun and refine invisible punishments through psychology. Compared to that, Phalaris seems like a beginner with a bronze gimmick. This isn't about how far we've come. It's about how far we'll go to make cruelty systematic, seamless, and strangely professional. The uncomfortable lesson? This isn't really a story about how far we've come. It's about our unbroken talent for wrapping cruelty in theater, systems, and paperwork. The forms change, the ethics evolve. But the creativity, that's the part that stays consistent.